Hey folks, Jonathan here, back playing around for a second anyway. I've been towing all day. It's already late afternoon, so I don't know if I'm going to have a video ready for tonight or not, but haven't pressure washed the frame yet. I'm hoping to get that done today before I can get it in the shop. That's my goal. And I bought some steel. Okay, I went ahead and went with 2x3 3/16. I could have went 1/8 inch, probably been fine, but I didn't want to take a chance on it. So I've got a 20-foot stick here. So that's what we're going to use to reinforce the frame, or this will be basically the new frame, just stronger. And I'm hoping to get started on that tonight. And that's if I get time. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go tow a van now, and want to get it done and get back. Hopefully I'll have some time to get that frame pressure washed and get it into the shop, and then maybe we can get to work on it. You gotta love this. Customer says, well, it's just a little van, a little bus maybe. Well folks, I just walked in. I actually just backed up the driveway, getting ready to start on this thing. I wanted to get it pressure washed, but as soon as I walked in the house to give my wife the paperwork, got another call. So I've got to go basically right back where I was. That's the way that goes, tow life. So anyway, I'm going to try to rush. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it though and get back before it gets dark here. I really want to get this pressure washed and get it in there, but may not be able to do it. But we'll see. Alright. Okay folks, I ended up doing 2 instead of 1, but I got back just in time to do a little bit of pressure washing, cleaning up. I'm going to set the camera up real quick. I'm going to try to just set that big block down on there so I can get an idea. You know, I can do all the measuring I want, but if you set it in there, you can really get a good idea of what you're working with. So, okay folks, I'm sorry it got dark on me, but I did get it sitting in here. But we're going to do some more playing in the morning. Okay folks, here's where I left off last night. We're going to pick this back up again. I'm going to get that bracket out of the way because it is in the way. I thought maybe I could do this without it. And we're going to move the engine forward probably 4 or 5 inches. And then I'm going to start doing some marking on the frame for clearance. And we should be able to get this thing in the shop and go ahead and get to work on reinforcing and changing a few things and then making some clearance and stuff like that. And I've got some ideas on what I want to do, and I'll show you as I go. Okay, I got it set down about where it's going to be. I've got the harmonic balancer basically lined up with the rack and pinion steering, and I've got a few marks on it where I want to clearance some stuff. I'm going to drop the engine and transmission down probably another, I'm going to say 3 inches total from where it's at, and that'll cover us up pretty good. I've got to do a little bit of fabrication changing on the center where you see my white line there and back here, so that area will be actually taken out but reinforced around it. And what I've decided to do is I'm going to raise my tubing up 2 inches above the frame. I'm going to take it and put it down in 1 inch, and then I'm going to come through all of my supports and put a piece of 2x2 on top of them and weld it all in. So this is going to support it a lot better, but it's also going to raise our body up 2 inches. I went and measured the cowl, the height, so if I lower this and raise it the body 2 inches, that's going to give us plenty of clearance for everything we need, and I think it's going to work out good. I don't think steering will be an issue because this mount won't be run. Not sure I'm going to do the mounts, but I want to come off the side of the engine, and everything's going to be built solid. I'm not going to run any engine mounts on it. I want the transmission mounted solid and the engine. So we'll actually take advantage of that and use it to actually reinforce the shock tower, whatever you want to call it, A-frame tower on this side and the other side. We just got to clear for the steering coming through. But that's it. I'm going to go ahead and raise it up, get it off there, pop the rear end out real quick, and get this thing in the shop and get it on some jack stands, start getting it leveled up how I want it. And we're going to start laying that frame in there today, getting it welded in, and start doing some major fabrication here. Alright. Okay folks, as you can see, I finally got this thing in the shop, and I just rolled my tires in there, just doing a little bit more measuring. Ciphering, as Jethro Bodine would say. don't have it level yet. I've got to level it out, and I've got to get a couple more stands in to brace it in some other spots, because we're going to start cutting into it here shortly. I want to go ahead and get my 2 frame rails cut in the length and lay them on top, and then I'm going to mark out exactly where I'm going to cut into this frame and drop it down in. I'm going to narrow the back up even more than what it's narrowed, because if not, we're not going to clear them tires inside. And you know, we're going to do our own offset on our wheels. We'll do the rear end as narrow as we can, and we'll get it all tucked in there some way. But you know, 12.5 inches is pretty daggone wide for this little car, but you know, it's what I've got, so that's what we're going to use. And I think I'm just going to do some, you know, we're going to do some changing on the front end, but change them spindles over and run the Corvette stuff on the front. And I'm going to try to find some small, skinny 15-inch. But alright, let me get at it some more and I'll show you as I go. Okay folks, I was filming with the other card in the camera and it just went dead for some reason, so try this again. I wanted to show everybody the frame. It's been cut and put back together here, and I'd noticed that yesterday, but I didn't notice all this. Someone's got some boogered up weld there, and I don't think that these pieces of angle are original. I think they've been added on. So this thing may have been wrecked or busted or beat or something at one time. Frame seems to be really good and straight. You know, I'm not too worried about it because, you know, the way that we're going to do this, but you know, we'll have to find a good center point from the front to measure from, and we've got to be real careful on our control arms when we get ready to mount them, because we want to make sure that this rear end's in straight, because we don't need any rear steer, which would be, you know, cocked either way, and because it's non-adjustable. So we're going to have to be really careful with that, get it in good and straight. So I'm going to go ahead and get the 2 pieces cut and lay them on top of the frame where I want them, and then mark them out, measure them out, mark them out where I want them, and go ahead and get to cutting inside this frame. I'm going to get a couple more jack stands up under it, and we will go ahead and get to work. So this is where the progress starts, and you know, I was making progress turning it apart, but that's not the kind of progress I'm wanting. So this is where the progress starts. We're going to do some grinding, some wire wheel, get this cut out, get that frame set down in it. I'm narrowing the back up some more, so we'll have clearance for the tires and our ladder bars. And just remember, the rear end's going to be above the frame and not below it, so it's underslung. It's kind of different. I don't know if anybody's done that on a drag car or not, but that's what we're going to do. You know, I could, you know, come up back just like, you know, you would on a normal 4-link or something like that, but you know, we're going to do it this way. And just because I'm not wanting to spend a lot of money on steel, and then we're just doing this, you know, really budget wise, and you know, we're not real worried about it. We're not looking for it to pass any tech inspections or anything like that, but of course we do want it to be safe, so we're going to make sure it's I'm not going to get myself killed. And like I said, we are going to end up doing a cage in this. I don't know how far along I'm going to go with it, or what, you know, what I'm going to do yet, but we will do it. Anyway, I'm going to get at it, go ahead and get these pieces cut and laid on there, and I'll show you as I go. Okay, I got my frame rails laid out on top, how I'm going to put them. And like I said, I'm going to sink them down 1 inch is what I'm going to do into the other frame, weld it all in, and then I'm going to come through with 2x2 tubing and go on top of these to support everything, and that'll tie it all together. And we're going to have to do some finagling on getting the clearance for this, which I knew that, so it's not going to be an issue. We can just play with it a little bit, but I knew that this rear outrigger there was going to be in the way, but it's not like I said, not a problem. And you can see what I'm doing here and what I've got. Now, I didn't want to go in as far as I've got to go in, but I don't have a choice. So this is going to sink in. I'm going to try to tie this cross member here in. It's in good shape, just needs cleaned up. But we're going to end up losing all this out here, and I'll recap at the bottom of it, the bottom inch of it, or bottom 2 inches, I guess it probably would be, because it's about 3 inches. So, but I'll cap it flat as a plate, and we'll get it looking good and cleaned up. And so I think now what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a little wire brushing, but I'm going to go ahead and mark out exactly, get these exactly where I want them. First try, first time. and mark it real good, and then I'm going to cut 1 inch down in the frame, basically just a 1 inch groove, to where we can set these right down in it. We'll get them lined up, get them straight, we'll get them tacked in, and then we'll work from there. And then we've got to figure out what we're going to do in here for the clearance for the transmission pan. We'll rework this some way. And let me see, these, once they're down, they're going to be sticking up 2 inches. So I'll make a piece that actually goes in, that tapers all the way down, and we'll bring it all the way up to this this tower, shock tower, A-frame tower, and we'll weld it all in really good and cover up over top of what they've got there. And either way, it'll be plenty strong enough when we're done. So I'm going to keep at it. Hopefully I can get these set down in and welded in and tacked in at least today, and maybe get a little more done here. Okay, we got it cut out. I've got it sitting in there. I don't have it quite all the way down. I got to do a little bit more grinding to fit it, but you can see what I'm doing. It's sitting in there. And then I trimmed this piece out to fit down where I want it. I'll weld it all in, and I think that's going to work just fine. That'll strengthen everything up really good. And like I said, we want to make sure that these are exactly 2 inches up right here. That way we can run our legs, and we'll keep checking everything as we go for make sure nothing warps or gives us any problems. Alright, we'll get this down in there, and then probably try to get it tacked in at least. Okay, we had a little bit of a bow in the frame, almost a 1/4 inch actually, and I was able to move the jack stands and transfer the weight toward the back, clamp it and get it out of it. But you know, I think we're good to go now. Now, like I said, this is going to be gone out here, so it's just I've just temporarily cut into it. I want to leave as much as I can until I get everything welded in. You can see we're going to weld it all the way down, and we'll clean up inside there and do a little supporting. And we've got to, of course, weld it here and up here in the front. That's going to tie it up, so we'll go ahead and get this tacked in there and where we know it won't move, and then we'll get started on the other side. Okay, I've got part of it welded in. I went ahead and welded it here, even though we may have to cut this back loose to change this around, but I wanted to go ahead and get it supported in there, and welded it on the inside, back here, all the way up here, and up in the front. So we're going to cut the other one and get it in. I wanted to show you something before I started on it. I noticed when I took this rear end out that somebody had done some welding up here too. That is like an old shackle off of a mobile home, and evidently that front of the rear end must have broken loose, and both sides was that way. They had welded and done a little work on it, so there's been issues with the car before, but this should take care of all the problems on the front, any problems with the frame. And you know, like I said, when I get these 2 inch outriggers on it, it'll be good. I'm going to change around the inside some, and I'll figure it out as I go. We'll probably run some gussets at an angle from here up, and because back here don't matter, our drive shaft's going above it. And let me see, one more thing I wanted to address here. Oh, the one thing about this, I don't know if you'll be able to tell or not on camera, but you know, basically if you look at this frame, you're seeing a 3 inch frame here and 2 inches hanging down. So, you know, 5 inches of frame this way. You know, even though they're not butted together, it's still height-wise 5 inches. So, you know, anybody that thinks that this is not going to be strong enough, it's definitely going to be strong enough. Now, you know, that's not going to stop all the twists, especially with it being so close together, but when we get the outriggers on it, and then later on when we do the cage, that should take care of any twists that'll be in it. It should be rigid as can be. So we're not going to have any trouble. And then all we got to do really is just tie these bars into the front end good, and that shouldn't be a problem. And then You know, the engine transmission will be mounted solid, so that's going to act as strength too. And you know, instead of having it on a rubber, we don't, you know, drag racing or playing, we're not going to do that. And you know, the body basically mounted solid on these frames. That was the only thing in between it was a rubber pad. So, and this outrigger that they welded on, you know, I was checking everything with a level, and this outrigger's actually kicked up some, so we'll address that while we're at it. If we got to cut it loose and bring it down a little bit and re-weld it, because their weld don't look too good anyway. I'm not saying mine, you know, my welds do, but definitely not that bad. But we'll keep working at it as we go. We'll take a little break, and then I'm going to get back out here and get the other frame weld finished up. If I get it in, get it welded in, you know, today, I'll be tickled here. All right. I have these goggles hanging on my torch. I like to use these for the plasma to keep from burning my eyes, but I don't know. That elastic has stretched out, or somebody with the biggest head I ever seen put them on. So I gotta figure something out here. Okay, we got this one sliced and ready to go in. Well, it's in, ready to weld. Same issue on this one. It's a little bit high in the center, and we'll take care of that problem. And not sure what's causing that. If the frame's just got a slight bow in it. Not much of one, a little bit, but if it was wrecked, that could be part of it. But we're going to get that welded in, and we may call it a night after that. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Okay, folks, we got the other one welded in, and we're good to go on that. Everything should work out just fine. And now I am going to flip this over when I'm done and weld everything on the bottom side. So I just, you know, I've overhead welded a lot. I used to do exhaust, so I wouldn't mind on it, but you know, it'd just be so much easier just to flip it and weld it. Be stronger, safer, better. So anyway, that's where we stand right now. I'd love to have gotten more done, but that's the way it goes. But we're on a roll now. So and I've got some of the 2x2 tubing left over that I was used on my bumper to build my bumper on my rollback, and then I used a couple pieces of it on Graydon's go-kart on the bumpers front and back. So I've got some left, not enough to do everything I want to do, but enough left to do part of it, and I might have some more around here somewhere, and I think it'll work out fine. No issues yet, nothing that worries me. I've got to take off this entire outside. That's why it's not welded. The inside, of course, is welded, and I've still, of course, got to clean all that up. But we're going to take it off, and then we're going to actually plate the side of this down to the original frame, and then, you know, rebox the frame in. So there'll still be about 2 inches of the original frame left there, but our trailing arms will go up and mount. Like I said, the only thing that'll be in our way is right here, and we may do something higher and come down to it or something. We can figure that out. That's not a big deal. You know, no big issues. The only issue that I've got to really figure out here, basically, this needs to go from right here, same way on the other side, all of it back to about where we're marked at right here. So, you know, I can cut it straight or at an angle or whatever, but it's got to be out of the way. I can rebuild, bring the frame back around and connect it into here, you know, down low, just like it is, and come up with it. But yeah, I just want to have access to the oil pan and the transmission pan. But if, you know, the transmission ever needs to be changed, it'll have to be done from inside the car, which is not a problem, because I don't plan on putting a, you know, welding the hump in or anything. We can put a bolt in, and, you know, probably not going to run past your seat, so there'll be plenty of room to work. And the engine's going to fit fine. I like it. I really like how it's working out. I will be taking this front end apart, redoing these A-arms, and getting started on the back, on the rear end. I've got to get it around here. I've got it out back, and we can start narrowing it up, since we know, you know, pretty much a width of what we need to do. And I think that's it. I mean, it's it's moving right along. I did want to show everybody, I'm going to keep track of what I got in this thing, and you know, serious tracking. Now, as for a lot of the parts I trade for, I'm not going to put a money value on them, because most of what I trade is, you know, just parts off cars, or you know, entire junk cars and stuff like that I really don't have no money in. So you know, I'll have a wrecker car or something like that in a lot of them, but you know, that's, you got to eat it sometimes. But here's what we got so far. Gave $300 for the car. I got $85 in steel and $20 in them trailing arms. So we're $405 in on the car now. And the engine I traded for, junk for junk. He was a Ford man, so he didn't consider, you know, a Chevrolet much over junk. How about that? But so you know, we don't have a lot of money in nothing yet. Now, I think the biggest expense is going to probably, I've got to buy 2 rims, but they're not expensive. I'm going to either build the centers or use some 8-lug centers, but you know, they're not really bad. 30-40 bucks a piece for 12-inch wide blanks steel. And our biggest expense is going to be the roll bar tubing, the DOM. I'm in a search for a racing seat and belts right now. Probably just a 4-point. I think that's about it right now. I mean, you know, we'll move right along on it. I mean, it'll come together quick. So anyway, I appreciate everybody watching, and tomorrow's supposed to rain, but we've got it in the shop now, so it don't matter. If it rains, I'll still work on it. All right. Till next time. Bye.